Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Dana Villa from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis reminded the faithful gathered at St. Peter's Square during his Angelus prayer on December 26, the feast of St. Stephen, that Christmas is not the fable of a birth of a king. Instead, he said it was the coming of the Savior who frees us from evil by taking upon himself our evil, such as selfishness, sin, and death. Monday is dedicated to St. Stephen, the first martyr of Christianity. The liturgy truly appears to wish to guide us away from the world of lights, lunches, and gifts, which we might partially relish in these days, the Pope said. The Holy Father explained that individuals who have suffered martyrdom are like Jesus. He continued by urging everyone to pray for those who are undergoing martyrdom as we strive to strengthen our own witness. Over 55 people have died in the USA as a result of severe winter storm, and more deaths are predicted as frigid temperatures continue to plague parts of the nation. As of Monday, the storm claimed the lives of at least 57 people in 12 states, including Illinois, Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, New York, Ohio, and Wisconsin, according to reports. At least 25 fatalities occurred in Erie County, New York. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, stated during a press conference on Sunday that state police had assisted in over 500 rescue efforts in the area, including the delivery of a baby. Hochul said that there is a substantial and devastating loss due to this winter storm. Thousands of people are left without electricity, and the adverse weather has affected roughly 60% of the population. Heavy snowfall in Japan has resulted in at least 17 deaths and 93 injuries. The data was obtained on Monday morning from Japan's Fire and Disaster Management Agency. Residents were advised by officials to exercise caution when clearing snow from their homes. Many of the latest fatalities happened when people fell while clearing snow off their rooftops. This included a 70-year-old woman who was discovered under a mound of snow at her house in Nagai, roughly 180 miles north of Tokyo. Around 20,000 people were without power on Christmas morning as a result of severe snowfall in the country's northern region that caused the collapse of a power transmission tower. On Sunday, dozens of train and air services had to be canceled because of the inclement weather. The longest-running anti-government demonstrations in Iran since the Islamic Revolution of 1979 have rocked the authorities 100 days after they started. But the agitations come at a high cost to the people. Human rights activist news agency reports that 69 children are among more than 500 demonstrators who have been killed. Following what Amnesty International refers to as fake trials, 2 protesters have been put to death, and at least 26 are in line for the same punishment. According to a human rights activist who spoke to BBC, female demonstrators are subject to sexual and physical violence in prisons. The Defenders of Human Rights Center's Deputy Director, Narges Mohammadi, is incarcerated in the infamous Evin prison. She detailed the physical and sexual mistreatment of female detainees who were picked up during protests that started in September after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. Meanwhile, Iran security services have warned Assyrian Chaldean Christians to stay away from the country's escalating upheavals. A Catholic priest who had been abducted in Nigeria has been released unharmed on December 24th, said a press release from the Diocese of Otokpu in the eastern part of the country. Father Mark Ojotu, chaplain of the Santa Maria de Okpoga Hospital, was abducted on Thursday. The incident occurred in the Okpoga-Ojapu Highway in the state of Benue. However, the diocese stated that he was released on December 24. The 2 priests were also abducted in separate incidents. Father Sylvester Okechukwu from the parish of St. Anthony of Kafanchan in the state of Kaduna was abducted on Tuesday. Likewise, Father Christopher Ogide vanished from the Diocese of Umuahia on December 17 while traveling to a petrol station close to the parish of Santa Maria Asunta in Abia State. A Catholic parish has sued the American state of Michigan because they fear that a state civil rights statute will be used to force the parish's school to go against its beliefs regarding marriage and biological sex. It was Thursday that the lawsuit was filed in the Southern Division of the Western District of Michigan Court by Sacred Heart of Jesus Parish of Grand Rapids and 3 parents whose children attend the parish school. The statute, named the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act, prohibits discrimination based on one's sex. However, the parish fears that it could be reinterpreted to encompass a person's sexual orientation and preferred gender identity. The Alliance Defending Freedom, that upholds free expression, is representing the Catholic Church and the parents. Sacred Heart was being forced to face an unconstitutional and unacceptable choice: either discontinue teaching and practicing the Catholic faith or close its doors forever, said ADF Senior Counsel Ryan Tucker in a statement on Thursday. 4 international relief organizations have stopped working in Afghanistan as a result of the Taliban government's decision to forbid women from working for non-governmental organizations. The initial group to declare the action is a violation of fundamental rights was the United Nations. The International Rescue Committee, Save the Children, the Norwegian Refugee Council, and CARE all claimed that without women in their organizations, they could no longer properly serve those in need. Amid deteriorating humanitarian conditions, the NGOs had been offering healthcare, education, and nutritional services. In Afghanistan, the Norwegian Refugee Council alone employed 468 women. Women were allegedly not correctly donning the Islamic headscarf, which led to the introduction of the ban. The Afghan government elaborated, claiming that women did not wear the headscarf were violating Sharia law. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken responded that he was extremely worried that the action would disrupt crucial and life-saving assistance to millions. In the Nigerian Diocese of Sokoto, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka emphasized the need to ensure that everyone in the country feels represented, particularly in state appointments. The well-known prelate said the governors of different states have a significant role to play in fostering social cohesion. A section of Nigerians, particularly in the northern region, feel excluded from government appointments and the administration of resources, according to Bishop Kuka. He was speaking at the National Interreligious Conference held in Kano State. Bishop Kuka emphasized in his speech the necessity for leaders to effectively manage the country's diversity, particularly the many religions. He said this would ensure that some groups do not feel excluded. He expressed concern over citizens building walls between one another and calling themselves Muslims, Christians, Northerners, and Southerners. He said, quote, "The trend is quite sad because it just feeds into the widening rift that divides us," end quote. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is a symbol of eternal values, according to the leader of Ukrainian Catholics in the United States. The Ukrainian Catholic Archieparchy of Philadelphia's Archbishop Boris Gudyak said in a statement that the president represents those who are willing to offer their lives for the truth, God-given human dignity, and freedom. He had traveled to the capital to attend Zelensky's address to Congress with a group of Ukrainian and Ukrainian-American leaders. The address by Zelensky concluded his day-long trip to Washington. His departure from Ukraine marked the first time he had traveled outside the country since Russia began its formal invasion on February 24. Democracy has to be preserved, otherwise tyranny prevails, Zelensky emphasized. The Archbishop said his visit served as a crucial reminder of this fact. He declared, quote, "I think we Americans need Ukraine. We need the motivation, the desire to make sacrifices, and we need to take part in this fight for freedom and dignity against utter evil." End quote. The Catholic Bishops of the Philippines has decided to observe February 5th as the National Day of Prayer and Awareness Against Human Trafficking. The declaration was a response to a call by the CBCP Cluster Against Human Trafficking to intensify the Church's effort to combat contemporary slavery. The petition was approved by the CBCP Permanent Council at its meeting on November 23 in Manila. CCAHT was established in 2017 to foster cooperation between the various Episcopal commissions under the direction of the Commission for the Pastoral Care of Migrants and Itinerant People. Father Roger Manalo, Executive Secretary of ECMI, stressed the need for more rigorous measures in the fight against human trafficking in his letter to the bishops. Father Manalo added that they would once more request from the CBCP that the National Day of Prayer and Awareness Against Human Trafficking become an annual event that will be observed on the first Sunday of February. In another news development, a church that was erected more than 400 years ago in Honduras and which reflects the cultural and architectural legacy of the colonial period will be restored thanks to the funds donated by Pope Francis. The Bishop of Yoro Diocese, the Most Reverend Hector David Garca Osorio, said, "I am grateful to the Holy Father for this large financial aid he offered to us for this renovation and expansion of the Church of San Francisco de Asís in the village of Loquigue de Yorito." The prelate added that he was grateful to the Holy Father. "It means a lot to us in the diocese, in the parish, and in the community. We are grateful to him for his work he has done," he added. The project has been promoted by Flora Castro, a native of the village, who asked the embassy to the Holy See for help to carry out the restoration. A recent research published on Christmas Day reveals that Israel's Christian population has shown a slight growth. According to the study made public by the Central Bureau of Statistics, the number of Christians in Israel increased by 2% in 2021, accounting for 1.9% of the total population. The survey claims that 75.8% of all Christians in Israel are Arab. The report states that in 2021, Christian women had an average of 1.77 children per woman from 1.80 in 2019. At 1.68 children per woman, the number of children per Arab Christian woman was even lower. The report also found that 52.9% of Arab Christians and 31.2% of non-Arab Christians pursued higher education after completing high school, a larger proportion than both the Arab Muslim population, 31.2%, and the Jewish population, 48.2%. Christians were more likely to study social sciences, mathematics, computer sciences, and statistics than Muslim students, who were more likely to be pursuing degrees in teaching, business, and management sciences. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.